European Union. So we're hoping that when Iran comes to the meeting in Geneva, it will engage in a very serious discussion. And I will say this today, I will say it tonight at the Manama Dialogue. I have said it all over the world. The United States is sincere in its efforts to engage with Iran. We would very much like to see Iran take a position as a responsible leader that doesn't intimidate or threaten or scare its neighbors and others. But the choice is really up to Iran, and we're going to keep working to try to come out with the right decision.
Excellent. I have a question from the other side. I need to move. Sorry, ma'am. Yeah. Cream de la cream of youths in this gathering, so the questions will be tough, ma'am.
That's good.
Yeah, yeah.
Afshan Dadabai.
Hi, could you stand up? I can't see you, I'm sorry.
Hi, I want to start off by saying that, first of all, me, along with, I think, majority of Bahrain and probably majority of the Arab world, we're ardent Obama supporters. So we're very glad to see him there in the White House.
I will tell him.
And my question is regarding the mosque, the controversy, for the mosque near ground
zero. Near ground zero, right.
What is your stance on that? And did you expect that there would be so much controversy regarding the mosque?
Well, you know, I was, for 8 years, a senator from New York. And any of you, how many of you been to New York City? Ah, good, good. And the rest of you need to come. You know, New York City represents the entire world. I mean, everyone from everywhere lives in New York City. And New York City has figured out a way to enable people to get along, work together, live near one another, and peacefully resolve their disputes. So I have never particularly been concerned that New York City wasn't capable of making this decision, because New York City is certainly capable of it, and they will do so in accordance with the laws and procedures that the city has. I don't know what the decision will be, but it's a city that recognizes the strength of diversity and respects it, and so the controversy, in my view, is something that is not going to affect whatever the final decision the city makes. And I'm confident that the right decision will be made, and that it's a little known fact, but if you took a map of what is that area of downtown New York, and you put a mark by every mosque that was near what is called Ground Zero, because of course that's where we were attacked, and we take it very personally and seriously, there are a number of mosques in that area already. So, I mean, people who don't know about New York City, people who are emotional about what is still a very painful experience in our country, certainly are free to express their opinions. But that's not how municipal decisions are made. They're made on, you know, is this the right land use? Do they have the right permits? And that's how this will be made. And it's not going to be controversial. It'll be decided one way or the other.
We'll take a question here. Yeah, thank you, Mohammed. Madam Secretary, I'm personally an optimist, and I sense through what you said about the reform process that you are an optimist too towards the future of this country. During the past 10 years, there has been a huge increase in the numbers of the NGOs, an increase in the number of publications. There has been the empowerment of women. 3 women have reached the cabinet. There have been major changes, and you mentioned that there could be still some challenges that we could be facing. What are these challenges? How can we face them, since we are a young democracy, yet despite all the challenges we have had, we have managed to reach where we are today?
And you're right to look at it optimistically. I learned earlier today that there are 526 NGOs in Bahrain. And it's a small country, and that's a significant number. So the space for civil society, for activists who wish to express an opinion, is so long as they do so peacefully and civilly, should be expanded, because there's a lot of merit in having different voices at the table of any society. Defense of human rights, making sure that the judiciary is independent and the rule of law is followed. And I know there are trials going on now, and I believe that the rules obviously will be and should be followed. The point about democracy that many people who are just beginning to practice it often overlook is that democracy is not just about elections. Elections are a critical, necessary part, how they're conducted, how legitimate they are. And on that basis, the elections you had 6 weeks ago, as I said, are widely admired. And then there are all the other elements of democracy, because protecting minority rights, ensuring that people have the full range of freedoms, as long as, again, they exercise them responsibly. So getting the right balance is what I know you are seeking. And it is not easy. It is hard to do this. If it were easy, people could just snap their fingers, but that's not the way it works. You have to balance traditions that you value and that you want to keep with modernizing and developing to the full extent of your intellectual and human capital. So there's a real opportunity here, but there is also inevitably a tension. We face that in our own country because, of course, I know more about the United States than I know about the real substance of Bahrain, the society and the political structure. But in my own country, we're constantly having to balance. The internet is an incredible invention that came out of scientific work done in the United States over a period of years and then basically given to the world, where now it connects every one of us from the poorest to the richest. What a great invention. But you can say or do so many things on the internet that are harmful. We have young people in America who are being bullied on the internet. And people say untrue or unkind things about them. And we've had some young people kill themselves because they've been so embarrassed and so humiliated by accusations that were made. Well, what do you do? How do you deal with that? I mean, you want a free and open internet, but you don't want it to be a vehicle for sending falsehoods around the world and saying things about people that are so hurtful that it leads to such terrible outcomes. These are the kinds of issues, as just an example, that societies have to be balancing all the time. So democracy is not, as I said, a destination. You don't get there and take a deep breath and say, okay, we're here, we can rest now. Because technology doesn't rest, human nature doesn't rest, things keep changing all the time. So you have to ask yourselves, how do we keep this balance between what we value about our traditions, making sure that we maintain those, and at the same time moving toward greater openness and democratization?
Madam Secretary, you just said that technological progress, or democracy in other words, could be turned against itself if used negatively. Madam Secretary, we see that sometimes Western media portray this region of the world negatively more often than not, and hence creating a thin line between, let's say, the freedom of the press and stereotyping, basically. This, in turn, propagates a negative stereotype within the American society. What can you do as your role in the U.S. government to fix this?
I think that's a really important question, Mohammed, and one of the reasons I'm here is because I am concerned about that. I'm concerned about stereotyping. I'm concerned about it in respect to your region, but I'm also concerned about how the United States is stereotyped. And I think that the media, if you think about media, and certainly the press, often takes things and blows them up. Makes them bigger than they might be. I've often said about my country, based on the television shows that traveled around the world the last 20 years, that you probably think that every man is a wrestler and every woman walks around in a bikini. I mean, it's a terrible stereotype. And people worry